Hi guys, here's the video answer key for your study guide for the second half of our decimal unit. So on my first problem here, I had to pick out the lowest number in my chart because I wanted the horse that had the fastest time. And so my lowest number, as I compared all those numbers, was 2 and 45/100. I knew that because it had a 2 in the ones place, so it made it smaller than these two. And then it had a 4 in the tens place, which made it smaller than these two, so that was the smallest number. Then I had to figure out my range. So I took my largest number of 3 3/10 and subtracted my lowest number of 2 and 45/100, and that's where my 85/100 came from. Okay? And then I had to figure out the mean, which meant I had to add all of these together and then divide by 5. So when I added all of those together, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So here's my 1C. I'm going to do my work in a really orderly fashion. And I'm going to add 2 and 45/100 to 2 and 54/100, and being real careful to line up all these decimal points. So I've got all 5 numbers there. I like to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's lots of places to make errors with these. So I'm going to add a 0 here for a placeholder. Now I'm going to add all these numbers up. We've got 5 plus 4 is 9, plus 1 is 10, plus 2 is 12. Put down my 2, carry my 1. 4 plus 5 is 9, plus the 1 I carried is 10, plus 3 is 13, plus 2 is 15. 15 plus 6 gives me 21. Put down my 1, put in my decimal point, carry my 2, 2, 4, 6, 8, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 14. 14 and 12/100 is the sum, but now I've got to take that sum and divide those by 5. So 5 divided into 14 and 12/100. 5 divides into 14 2 times. 5 times 2 is 10, so subtract 10 from 14. Bring down my 4. Whoops, forgot to put my decimal point up there. And bring down my 1. 5 divides into 41 8 times. 8 times 5 is 40. Subtract and I have 1. Bring down my 2. 5 divides into 12 2 times. My numbers are getting off a little bit up there. 5 times 2 is 10. Subtract, and I have 2. Add a 0. Bring it down. 5 divides into 20 4 times, and there I have it. Now, my directions tell me to round my answer to the nearest hundredth. The 2 is in the hundredth spot, and the 4 says to leave it alone, and so the answer I write down then is 2 and 82/100. All right, the median time for the median, I need to list these in order and then choose the one that's in the middle. So for 1D, here's my work for 1D. My smallest number we've already decided is 2 and 45/100. Next number up is 2 and 54/100, then 2 and 62/100, then 3 and 21/100, and finally the largest number is 3 and 3/10. And so if I just kind of go pairing up the biggest number and the smallest number so that I can zero in on the middle, I can see that 2 and 62/100 is my center number. All right, so now I'm down here. I had to take 4 and 1/10, and I had to square it, which means I did 4 and 1/10 times 4 and 1/10. So what I did here is 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 4 is 4, a 0 because I'm moving over. 4 times 1 is 4, 4 times 4 is 16. Add those up, 1 plus 0 is 1, 4 plus 4 is 8, and then we're not adding anything to the 16 there. 2 numbers behind the decimal point in the problem, so 2 numbers behind the decimal point in the answer, and there's my 16 and 81/100 is my answer. Now over here, I've got 0.02 to the third power. That means I have to do 0.02 or 200 times 200 times 200. So I did my first work here, 200 times 200. So I just did 2 times 2 is 4. And then I said, wait a minute, the rest of this is just going to all be zeros. But I need 1, 2, 3, 4 places behind the decimal point. And so I added 3 zeros so that when I placed my decimal point, I'd have 4 numbers total behind the decimal point. And then I had to take that 0.0004 and multiply it by 0.02. And again, same thing. I thought, wait. This is 4 times 2 is 8. Everything else is just going to be zeros. But I needed a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers behind the decimal point. So I added 5 zeros in order to get that. And so finally my answer was 0.00008. All right, now I'm on to some order of operations problems. And that's where we have to remember our PEMDAS. So first I had to do parentheses, and I took 5 and 7/10 and subtracted 2 and 3/10, and that's where my 3 and 4/10 came from. And then I had to multiply that by 1 and 5/10. And so when I multiplied 3 and 4/10 by 1 and 5/10, I got my 5 and 1/10. And then I had to subtract 4, and that's where I came up with the 1 and 1/10. All right, then over here I had to do 5. I added my 2 and 2/10 plus my 3 and 6/10 first because I had to do parentheses first. Then I had to square that, and 5 and 8/10 times 5 and 8/10 gave me 33 and 64/100. And then I had to take that 33 and 64/100 and multiply that by 5, and that came out to 168 and 2/10. That should be a 6 there, 168 and 2/10. All right, so that's page 1, guys. Go ahead and stop this video and load page 2 if you need it.